Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel. We have another Trump video today, Trump and Biden. It's the third episode. If you haven't watched the other ones, you can watch them back on the channel. People have been asking me lately, why is it that you're covering American politics and not UK politics? And I'm like, are you for real? How often in UK politics you get Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off on stage? Meanwhile, one of the presidential candidates is getting almost assassinated. The other one is in the throes of senile dementia. This is the Game of Thrones era of politics right now. And shout out to all my Americans who've just recently subscribed. I love you guys. Appreciate all of you lot supporting the channel. If you haven't already, subscribe. What you waiting for? I'm getting into a lot today. We got Joe Biden and some shady shit that he's been up to, Donald Trump shooting, and more evidence that points to a conspiracy and now a cover-up that's going on. We've got a little bit on Kamala Harris, who's replacing Joe Biden, apparently. So let's get into it. Donald Trump has finally had a say on the mistakes made by the Secret Service.
How did somebody get on that roof, and why wasn't he reported? Because people saw that he was on the roof. I mean, you had Trumpers screaming. A woman in the red shirt, she was screaming, "There's a man on the roof!" And then other people said, "There's a man on the roof who's got a gun." And that was quite a bit before I walked onto the stage. So you would have thought somebody would have done something about it.
Now, Trump is being very diplomatic in the way he's raising these questions, but I guarantee he is very suspicious about what happened that day when all the technology we've got these days and how easy it would have been to have stopped this lone gunman. He is at the very least considering this was a setup. And Trump is probably already aware that his team were appealing to the Secret Service for more security backup for the last 2 years and were rejected. This is an email from Homeland Security demonstrating, "Please be advised, your request has been denied because you do not qualify under either category. You have not demonstrated that there is a threat to life or physical safety of an individual, nor have you demonstrated." So Trump's team were begging them for more protection and were basically told, "Go and fuck yourself, mate." Well, that worked out well. And again, maybe that was deliberate. It doesn't prove anything, but I know if I was planning to assassinate someone, I wouldn't want them having better security. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. So this is an email from the US Senator Josh Hawley, and he's basically sent an email to the head of the Homeland Security and stuck it right on him, accusing him, saying, "I've spoken to whistleblowers who were obviously, some of them working that day, had insider knowledge and have come forward to talk to him." And he said, look, July 13th rally was considered to be a loose security event. For example, detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detection threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed at regular intervals around the event's security perimeter. So basically, they were fucking shite. But it gets worse. Yeah. Again, you see, the agents used were not actually United States Secret Service agents, but instead were drawn from the department's Homeland Security Investigation Service. This is especially concerning given that these agents were unfamiliar with the standard protocols typically used in these type of events. So they were green as fuck, which explains why that woman that we see and who couldn't even put a gun away was wandering around like she didn't have a fucking clue. She's probably a fucking pencil pusher. God knows she looked like one. I'm sorry. I've got to lay off this girl, bless her. Now, I really like the way this guy's worded this email because he said, "I will continue to investigate your department's role in the staggering," that's a great word, isn't it? Staggering. Love that. "Security failures. Unfortunately, your department has not been appropriately forthcoming with members of Congress, abruptly ending the call with the US Secret Service before most senators could even ask a question." I wonder why that might be, because if I was trying to, I don't know, cover up how shite I was, or even worse, cover up a conspiracy, I wouldn't want to answer too many questions either. So he's ended the email by listing a whole bunch of questions and sticking it right on them. And good on him, because ultimately, for the people in charge, you're either losing your job at the very least or going to jail. So no one wants to face the music here. Now, interestingly, CNN, which we know are a left-wing, media arm, so take it with a pinch of salt, but they've hired a guy who's an audio forensic expert to listen to the bullets flying at Donald Trump, and he thinks that there's more than one weapon being fired.
and then that one more.
I hear what he's saying. It does sound different, like a different sound completely. And if it's the same gun, the same bullets, and this is just an idiot talking here, right? I don't understand. He does this for a living, but I get it. It does sound different. Now, one thing that some of you lot have been sending me to Instagram, etc., which you can follow me on Instagram, go ahead. Search True Geordie, is this clip of a water tower, which people think has a second shooter on it. Let's take a look. Now, this is what people think is a guy on top of the water tower here. And it does look potentially like a shadowy figure. I've seen Bigfoot footage that's better than this, I've got to be honest. But is it possible? It's possible. It's also possible that people might have fucked around with this footage as well. I'm obviously skeptical as fuck at this point. But I totally get that people think that this should be looked into, and everything should be at this point. So some more information about that day is that Secret Service did not attend the 9 a.m. security meeting with local law enforcement. They must have slept in. It can happen to the best of us. Do you know what I mean? Even the Secret Service needed a late night. You know what I mean? God, give them a break. Law enforcement wasn't even on the same security channel as Secret Service. So when we're all supposed to be gathered around to save the day, protect the president, all of that stuff, we're not even able to talk to each other. The snipers and SWAT teams weren't on the same channels as patrol officers or Secret Service. So if you want everything to go wrong and everything to be chaos, the less communication from the people who are supposed to be stopping this, the better. Again, was this coordinated to be uncoordinated? So Trump was shot at 11 minutes past 6, and yet the local sniper team apparently took photos of the shooter at 14 minutes past 5, almost an hour before the shooting took place. Again, it doesn't add up. Why wasn't he intercepted? Why wasn't he approached? Unbelievable. And Senator Ron Johnson, who was being interviewed on this, said even he had seen things from experts that would lead him to question the FBI's explanation, saying that there was only one shooter. Apparently, the sniper team were the first to go on the roof and began taking pictures of the dead body, which you've probably seen one or two of them on Twitter. Someone in a suit approached them and told them to send those photos to an ATF agent, which, you know, the senator said was very strange. No one even asked him for credentials. They assumed it was Secret Service. They tried to call the ATF, but now he's gone dark. They cannot find him. Just so fishy. Now, here's a bird's eye view of where the Trump shooting took place, and it signifies the article by the Wall Street Journal where the 20-year-old kid who went and did the Trump shooting, who was just some lunatic, some lone gunman, you know, the usual, no social media, he actually had a drone, and he used it earlier that day to scope out the place before making his walk there to shoot Donald Trump. So just to be clear, Secret Service don't need a drone, don't really need to do the research. It's loose security anyway. This 20-year-old kid was far more prepared than the motherfucking Secret Service were. Now, if the story is as simple as that, which I don't fucking believe it is, I believe that there's a hell of a lot more going on here. But even still, even if that's the truth, it's shocking. The drone circled the location multiple times as crooks studied the landscape to scope out the event. Let me just ask a question. You know, when you were 20 years old, did you have money like to just be buying drones and paying for all these bullets? And I think this shit is expensive, right? Like, we don't have guns in the UK, so I'm a bit out the loop. But at 20 years old, I didn't have a pot to piss in. This kid's got money and no social media. Just to be clear, he's unlike any 20-year-old I've ever met in my life. Most 20-year-olds got loads of social media accounts, fuck all money. This guy got it made. And the question is now, why did they want to take out Donald Trump? Well, to be honest, it's more of a why not. There were so many bonuses for certain people to get rid of this guy. It's actually mental.
On June 12th, for some reason, there were millions of dollars bet against Donald J. Trump's Truth Social stocks.
By the way, the same sort of shit happened prior to 9/11. When people have insider knowledge, they want to capitalize. They want to make money off of it.
The main company in question is called Austin Private Wealth LLC, and they shorted the DJT stocks by 12 million shares on July 12th. This makes no sense because it's Donald J. Trump's social media company. As he's winning the race, the convention is about to start, and he's the most popular politician in the country. And of course, you would expect the use of Truth Social to go up once the convention starts because of the popularity of the candidate.
Completely right. This guy is absolutely spot on.
I'm not joking. They literally said they meant to short it by 1,200 shares, not 12 million.
Easy mistake to make. Add a few zeros, it can happen. This is the equivalent of, I got hacked. That is his excuse here, basically.
Now, the reason BlackRock is getting brought up is because this same company that shorted 12 million stocks the day before the attempt on Trump's life also happens to own 78 million in Vanguard shares and over 34 million in BlackRock shares.
Now, while those sums of money aren't the most huge, insane sums of money ever, the fact is you're an investor in Vanguard and BlackRock, which are known to be extremely powerful companies. And some people consider them, in the words of George W. Bush, to be evildoers. And they're not seen as good companies that want the best for humanity. They want to take over the fucking world, basically. And I've always said, follow the money. Whenever anything dark and shady goes round, people benefiting from that are always to be watched.
What connects Trump, BlackRock, this kid who tried to kill Trump, and the stock market? It's this guy.
It fucking would be, wouldn't it? Zelensky, honestly. I don't trust that fucker at all. This guy goes to every country, cap in hand, asking for hundreds of fucking billions of pounds of their taxpayers' money. I'm paying tax in the UK. Why? Because I want you to make our public hospitals better. I want you to invest in our country. And look, I'm not against helping out other countries that are struggling. But what the fuck? This guy has had so much money. It's insane.
The connection is that BlackRock has over $500 million to $1 billion invested in a new bank that Kiev is putting together for the reconstruction of Ukraine.
So basically, the way I understand this is you're going to make a lot of money if you're one of the investors in this bank, giving all that money over for a greater return at a later date, providing all the funding continues to Ukraine. Who doesn't want that to happen? Donald Trump. And that's what we like to call on the True Geordie YouTube channel, motive. It's just so dirty, isn't it? So dirty. One of the things that has been said for the longest time is centralizing power, centralizing money is the overall goal of the dark side of government, right? They want to have as much control as possible. And it's easier to do that if all of the power is in one place. Now, let's listen to what Donald Trump had to say when asked about the central bank digital currency.
I will keep Elizabeth Warren and her goons away from your Bitcoin. And I will never allow the creation of a central bank digital currency.
Now, what Trump did there was a massive fuck you to all these people who want to achieve more control and actually put the power into the hands of the people in a big way. And again, you're a roadblock for the power that we want to achieve. More of a motive. Now, some of you might have heard recently that there's been this big technology meltdown and malfunctioning computers, planes grounded due to a company called CrowdStrike. Well, interestingly, way before this happened, Donald Trump was speaking about CrowdStrike, and I've got the clip.
They have the server, right, from the DNC, Democratic National Committee.
Who has the server?
Now, the FBI went in and they told him, get out of here. You're not kidding. We're not giving it to you. They gave the server to CrowdStrike or whatever it's called, which is a company owned by a very wealthy Ukrainian.
So interestingly, there's very important information from the Democratic Party not being handed over to the FBI, but instead in the custody of CrowdStrike, which is owned by a Ukrainian.
There's tremendous corruption. We're looking for, why should we be giving hundreds of millions of dollars to countries when there's this kind of corruption?
Why are they looking after information which is for the American people? Remember, the idea of government, which seems ridiculous at this point, is that they serve us. They are there to serve us. And yet information that should be kept in the hands of Americans is now in Ukraine. And all of a sudden, there's all this money going to Ukraine. It's absolutely stinking. And fair play to Trump for calling it out way ahead of time. Now, the CEO of CrowdStrike was interviewed after this big meltdown, and the way he answered some of the questions didn't fill me with confidence.
According to your statement, it was a single content update that has managed to shut down air travel, credit card payment systems, banks, broadcasts, street lights, 911, emergency, around the globe.
Think about what she just said. She named all of those things because it's the power that this one company has over all different aspects of society all around the globe. And they were able to fuck it over apparently one little update. What else does that mean? They have massive levels of control over society, this company.
How is it that one single software bug can have such a profound and immediate impact?
Well, when you look at the complexity of cybersecurity, you're always trying to stay one step ahead of the adversaries. Excuse me. Man, just 1 second, please.
Oh yeah, take
Little bit of hot under the collar there, are we, when you've actually got to answer the fucking question? That smacks of a man who is fucking lying.
This content update went out, and as it does, and it's been doing for many, many years, and we have to go back and see what happened here. But
okay, so he's going to look into it for us. Yeah, completely, mate. Don't worry about it. What my issue is that Donald Trump gets almost assassinated, and this company with links to the Democratic Party and has got their fingerprints all over security files and all sorts of other files around the globe manages to go completely tits up 2 days after the attempted assassination. Is there a possibility there was a bit of a cleanup operation going on through this insanely powerful company? It's possible. It is possible. I mean, I sound mental just saying it because this is way above my pay grade, let's be honest, but the deeper we go, the darker it gets. And I wouldn't be shocked if this was at some sort of cleanup update where they were getting rid of things that would have potentially pointed the finger of who was involved. Like, if there was evidence, it's probably not just in one place, right? You'd probably have to break into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places in order to do a complete cleanup of the operation. And if you wanted to do that without it being traceable, this big update issue and this massive shutdown where you can basically close the door behind yourself and leave no trace of any evidence may be the easiest way to do it. And again, I probably would never have even come out with this as a possibility, but 9/11, so many things happened before and after that made you question things. I think it's safe to question everything at this point. And we've also got more information potentially about what Donald Trump really thinks is going on, because he is trying to be elected president. He can't come out and accuse the Secret Service, the FBI, and all of these agencies of trying to have him popped. He has to do things in a diplomatic way, as he's done, and ask questions. But he has given a clue, because Donald Trump apparently is very particular about the music he chooses at every event he goes to. He is the one who selects it, and there's always hidden meanings behind it. He's recently used a track, an opera track as it happens, at the end of one of his rallies, which is also used at the end of a movie. And I'll let this guy explain the movie.
That movie is about an attempted assassination on a president that does not become successful. The president figures out that the parties that be blamed it on a patsy.
The patsy being the 20-year-old lone gunman.
At the end, when this opera is playing, the president has figured out who's really behind the effort, and he unalives them all.
Donald is maybe giving a clue of his true thoughts and feelings in that song. A bit like when, you split up with a girlfriend and she plays a song on her Instagram story to get back at you. It's kind of a bit like that, but a bit more serious. I do want to play you guys the song, actually. Pretty powerful song, to be fair. It's not something you're like, yeah, this screams American family values. And the reason I give a little bit of credit to this theory, as strange as it may seem, is he usually chooses songs that are very American dream. This doesn't scream that at all. Now let's look into Joe Biden, who has resigned after 9 days beforehand saying this.
What's Joe Biden going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? Here's my answer. I am running, and we're going to win.
Now, Biden obviously said a couple of days before pulling out, I've got COVID, which was really the sign of he's pulling out. What's interesting is a few years beforehand, he was asked about his relationship with Harris and how he would go about things if anything became a problem.
And I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign.
I mean, literally. That's exactly how it went. And he's even admitted it. I'll lie about it. What a truthful president. So interestingly, Biden has actually given Kamala Harris, as vice president, his full backing to become president against Donald Trump, which has led people to think that this might have been the plan all along. So it's entirely possible that Joe Biden has held on to his leadership, waited till we passed the point where other people could challenge for it, basically given up, let Kamala take the baton on now, and stop there being a democratic decision made from the people to decide who gets to be leader of the left side. Ironically, the left, after accusing Donald Trump of being against democracy this whole time, deny the people of having a choice in who the leader of the left side would be. Talk about hypocritical. fucking hell. Because RFK is a Kennedy, and what do Kennedys do? They challenge the system. They're not just going to go along with the fucking status quo. Biden has been a perfect little puppet for the elite, and that's exactly what Kamala Harris is going to do. So they want to keep her in control for them because she's going to go along with what they want, unlike RFK. And this would be the perfect way to ensure that nothing changes. And it's so funny because the left always make out like that's what the right side are like. They're both the fucking same. If anything, Trump seems like more of a loose cannon than any of them, and more likely to do things against the system. And funny old thing, Trump for a long time in his life was left-leaning. So I don't think he really gives a shit about which side he's on either, to be honest. Now, RFK has responded to this and said, I call on the Democratic Party to return to its traditional commitment of democracy and exemplify it with open process instead of anointing a candidate handpicked by the DNC elites. And he said that the party should use neutral polling to identify the candidate who can best beat Donald Trump. So just to be clear, he doesn't trust the elites in the DNC party who he'd be potentially representing, which is a massive conflict within the party immediately. He also doesn't trust them with the ballots, the actual voting. What, do you think the last one was rigged? People don't trust these lot with anything. And I'm not even saying it was, but he clearly doesn't believe them with anything. And as he said rightly, if they'd done this to begin with, I would not have to leave the Democratic Party and go as an independent. It just stinks, doesn't it? It's fucking stinking, isn't it? This is why I love American politics, though. People stab each other in the back, left, right, and centre, and it's broad daylight. And now, a word from our sponsors. Now, a lot of you have been wondering how I managed to stay up to date, well-researched, but also unbiased. Well, I've got to thank the day's sponsor for that, and that's Ground News. Now, what I like about Ground News is when we're getting information online, we often don't know who we're getting it from, why they're saying the opinion they're saying, and what way they're leaning politically. And what Ground News does is it tells you all of that information. So that helps people like me and you stay more informed about the information we're getting and what the motive is for the people supplying it. So if I search Biden dropping out of the 2024 race, immediately we get all of this data of how many news sources there are, how many are right-leaning, left-leaning, and central, and when it was last updated. You've got this bar here showing all of these news sources in colour of red to blue of what their political allegiance is. And then for each article that you want to scroll down and search for at the top immediately, you get how far they're leaning right, and even what corporation owns them, etc., and their factuality score. So you know their reputation, whether it's good or bad. And that sort of information is invaluable if you want to come across as though you actually know what the hell you're talking about, which hopefully sometimes I do. So for example, if I click on this article, which is from the Journal, which is left-leaning, you'll see that they're saying endorsements and campaign funding pour in for Kamala Harris as she praises Biden's legacy. Nothing but positivity for the left. Whereas this article from the Bangkok Post, which is right-leaning, is a completely different story. Biden ends failing re-election campaign, backs Harris as nominee. You can see how differently they're reporting this, but now you're able to understand why. Because previously, you might have just clicked on one of these articles and not had a clue. So with Ground News, you're able to get a full spectrum of your news. And this one search I did for Biden dropping out of the race got 1,053 articles. So again, it's not just about quality, it's about quantity as well. So if you want a higher quality of news, go to ground.news/TG, or you can use the QR code on the screen now. And with that, they're offering 40% off to you lot for the same top tier Vantage plan I use for unlimited access to all of their features. And a big thank you to everyone who does use that link, because not only are you getting yourself some good news, but you're also helping my channel produce more content. Appreciate it. Now, one tweet that went viral regarding Joe Biden's resignation was from a woman called Tara Reid. Now, this tweet has got 12.5 million views and there's no fact checker underneath. So I'd assume she at the very least did work for him in 1993, as she insinuated, and she's accusing Joe Biden of RAPE. I'm not going to say the word because it fucks with YouTube, but bloody hell. When you're 82 years old and handing in your resignation and 12.5 million people have seen a tweet like that about you, not a good one, is it? Fucking hell. I had no idea about this, by the way. This is all new to me. So this is a little bit on Kamala Harris, who might just be the next president of the United States.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know?
What can be unburdened by what has been.
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 This is a 4-minute video, and I am trying to imagine what can be, but be unburdened by what has been this first 23 seconds. God only knows what is going through this woman's head right now.
We believe can be unburdened by what has been. What can be
unburdened by what has.
She really feels clever when she says that. That's why she likes to use it. This would worry me a lot. If I'm an American and I've got to vote for her potentially, and she keeps repeating the same bullshit over and over and over again, it's because she doesn't know what else to say. If you're a waffler, you repeat the same line over and over again. What can be unburdened by what has been?
I think that, to be very honest with you, I do believe that we should have rightly believed, but we certainly believe that certain issues are just settled. Certain issues are just settled.
I always say this when I'm arguing with the missus. I just think things are just settled. Do you know what I mean? Let's just leave it there. Let's not continue to talk, please.
Clearly we're not.
That's actually what she would say to me.
No, that's right. And that's why I do believe that we are living, sadly, in real unsettled time.
She's an amazingly bad bullshitter. Like in politics, they're all bullshitters. Donald Trump's a bullshitter. They're all bullshitters, every last one of them. The difference between a good politician and a bad politician is a good bullshitter and a bad bullshitter. She is just not clever enough, I'm afraid. I can see that already because she says dumb shit.
Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. If
she did that, I fucking hate her, by the way, because you know what I mean? Marijuana's beautiful, innit? You really want to lock people up for that, you fucking prick.
That would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail systems.
Women don't like each other when one of them's like really, really pretty and the other one's really not pretty. It's just a thing, right? We all know how the animal kingdom works. But to have a woman who is clearly way hotter than you, just cooking you like that, that's every woman's worst nightmare. So on this level, I feel sorry for her, but you're a prick for doing that to people for marijuana. Absolute prick. Oh my God, we got a bit of backstory. This is juicy. Kamala Harris was 29 years old when she started an affair with 60-year-old Willie Brown. He was slinging dick in Kamala Harris when she wasn't even 30 years old. He was double her age. He was the mayor of San Francisco and one of the most powerful in California. He bought her a BMW, appointed her to 2 influential positions, and he named Kamala to the California Medical Assistance Commission job that paid her $72,000 a year, and also appointed her to the state's Unemployment Insurance Appeals Board, and a lucrative position that gave her another $97,000 a year in her pocket. Apparently, this guy later faced FBI corruption investigation for handing out lucrative city contracts and appointments to friends and political allies. I mean, mate, I kind of don't blame him because, you know, she was way out of his league. Probably he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get her a job. But it just shows like this notion of she slept her way to the top. It's not completely unfounded. I mean, that is literally what she did there. She didn't sleep all the way to the top, maybe, but she definitely climbed a few ladders by climbing on a few dicks. At least his. Now, one of my favorite things to react to is the American media, who are so swayed by what side they're on. They completely bullshit their communities, worse than the politicians themselves.
Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation.
I love the insinuation that the shooting was staged because Donald Trump did a photo shoot after being shot. No, it was a split second of him raising his hand as they were trying to usher him off the stage because he wanted to send a message to the audience. He wasn't doing like... It wasn't none of that, you know what I mean? He wasn't a model up there. What are you saying, woman?
His survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength.
I mean, it just generally is, isn't it? You get shot, you get back up, sign of strength.
Current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing?
Amazing. Donald Trump getting shot is the same thing as Joe Biden getting through COVID. Absolutely. This woman here, I've got to say, I watch a lot of little clips online all the time, and I don't remember her name. She is the biggest bullshitting fool I have ever come across on American media. If you ever listen to her, just stop. She is terrible. I haven't seen a lick of common sense out of this clown. And I don't give a fuck either way, as I said. She's just comparing getting COVID to a bullet. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm speaking to fellow Christians. I was raised Catholic. I'm a Christian girl.
when something like this happens to you, like this assassination attempt, and you say something...
You would know, clearly. How many bullets have you had shot? Never mind, it's fine. We'll listen.
And you say something like, God was watching me. That is a very unchristian thing to say, because it's very narcissistic. What about Corey, what's his name?
I love it. What's about Corey, what's his name? The point is that Donald Trump is giving the credit for his life still being here to God. Now, I'm not particularly religious at all. I believe in God, but that's about it. But from what I understand, whenever I watch fighting, I'm a big fight fan, they always give the glory to God. They're trying to say, I'm not really worth the praise. Give it to God. And that is the same thing as Donald Trump is saying. He's not being narcissistic. He's actually giving credit to God. But no, because her angle is to always find the negative and the evil with Trump, she's trying to sway this as if he's a narcissist and he thinks he's been anointed and the chosen one. He's not said that. That was going to be such a good point in her head until she fucked the name up. Now, Whoopi Goldberg has had something to say about Donald Trump's granddaughter giving a lovely speech at one of Trump's events where she basically said, like, this is my granddad, this is what I think of him. I thought she did a great job, to be fair. But let's hear what Whoopi's got to say.
And I know his grandchild was up on the thing, and they're trying to humanize him and change your idea about who this guy is. Don't fall for that.
Trump, you're talking about. Yeah. Talking about Trump.
Don't fall for Trump being a good granddad to his granddaughter. Like, you know, it's funny because whenever anything really bad is said about Donald Trump, like, you know, when he said they grabbed him by the pussy and all that shit, that was automatically true. But this, because it's good, can't be true. Like, people are different people, right? Like, you can have sides to your personality that are conflicting. Like, the way you behave towards your grandparents and the way you behave towards your friends at work, completely different. It is possible that Trump might be a good granddad. Like that. And the way she's like, don't humanize him. It's like, no, you're trying to demonize him. Somewhere in the middle is the truth, is the reality. But look, this is the same woman who said this about Joe Biden.
I've known Joe 30, 40 years. I haven't heard anything from people who are in there with him also, who are saying, listen, yeah, he sometimes stumbles
He's a stutterer,
through.
though. He's a stutterer.
Ooh, that almost came out the wrong.
Ironically, she can't finish her own fucking sentences.
Does stumble. He doesn't always get it done. He doesn't always say. Yes, you heard it. He doesn't always say the right thing the right way. But he gets stuff done. That's what I'm interested in. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you can't put two sentences together. If you get the word, if you get the job done.
How can you get the job done if you can't get two sentences together, you fucking idiot? This is the level of, like, lying to the public that these people are willing to do. I preferred Whoopi Goldberg when she was teaching old women how to sing dressed as a nun. Because this makes no fucking sense to me. How can you get shit done if you can't put two sentences together? Because the man clearly couldn't. And lo and behold, he's now resigned. And ironically, this was the footage of the young girl talking about Donald Trump.
When I made the high honor roll, he printed it out to show his friends how proud he was of me. I know.
Just a despicable granddad. I don't believe this. Is she lying, embellishing? I'm sure part of that speech was configured to make Donald Trump look as good as possible. But hey, your job is to make Joe Biden look as good as possible. And you's fucking failed. If you're looking at the Donald Trump campaign, just objectively, the goal is to win. It's not always tell the truth. That's never been the fucking goal of politics. They're killing it. They've absolutely smashed it. And one thing I think is fascinating is that the bullet that was supposed to destroy Donald Trump's life has actually made him even more of a powerhouse in the political world, and it's actually destroyed Joe Biden. Because for the longest time, being a Donald Trump supporter, it came with connotations of you're either racist, you're a fascist, you're a fucking sexist. It came with all sorts of things. The left did a really good job of publicly shaming anyone who had any public support for Donald Trump and making them seem like they were automatically all of those things. And that level of, like, control, peer pressure, it was so powerful. And even in my own country, like, if you're seen as a Tory, it's seen as a dirty word, and it's even worse in England, in my opinion. And look, I'm not saying I don't agree with it. I don't rate both parties in England, but in America, it was very much that way. Because the idea is that the left represent the working man and they care about the working class people, and the right just want to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. It's really fucking clear now that both of them don't give a fuck about the working people, in my opinion, and never fucking have, in my opinion. If you haven't been paying attention, that's the way it's been going in England and America, in my opinion. But look, it's been a pick your poison situation, and a lot of people have felt like the left were a bit better for the working people. For me, when Tony Blair sent thousands of soldiers to their certain deaths over weapons of mass destruction that didn't even exist, that was when I woke up from that. But the tide has really turned in America through this event, and now Trump is getting more public support than he's ever had before, and that is not a coincidence. I see people posting pictures of Trump with hordes of women around him saying he's a pimp, and he's getting a lot of love, even after everything that he's gone through in his life, where he's been accused of all sorts of things. Because when Donald Trump raised his hand in front of that American flag after taking a bullet while trying to run for office, it destroyed all the shame people had of being a Trumper or being right-wing or all of this, oh, you're a fascist, you're a sexist. It's completely fucked all of the shame that the left have been putting on to those people. And as much as I don't agree that either side have got all the answers, and I never will, because I think it's all too corrupt, what I do like is freedom and people being free to believe whatever they want, whether you're left or right. I don't even care. You should have the right to say who you want to vote for and go and fucking do it without being shamed about it. And freedom to think is the most healthy thing. And I think what's really fucked me off about the cancel culture and the woke movements that we've seen online is it's completely against that. And we should always have the right to do whatever the fuck we want, as long as you're not hurting anyone and yada yada yada. But anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I will do more of these videos because you lot seem to love them, and I appreciate so much all of the support I've been getting, especially from the new American fans. Big love to you lot across the pond. If you haven't already, do subscribe, hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.